we have two guests today, and I think I should have them introduce themselves because I do know most of their names. I know one completely and one only by first name. So you can figure that out. And we'll start with Ilona.
Hi, I'm Ilona Somogyi. I'm one of the founders and the executive director of Ball and Socket Arts.
And then there's Lydia.
Hi, I'm Lydia Blaisdell. I'm the director of programming at Ball and Socket Arts.
All right. Glad we got that done correctly. Okay. So the purpose of this show is to let the people of Cheshire and Southington and Meriden or wherever else it gets to know about Ball and Socket and how it came to be. So let's start with Ilona. Let's start with you as a student at Cheshire High School.
Going way back.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and who you met there. That might be involved with Ball. Say that again. Not all the people.
Are you asking leading questions, Ron? You're asking leading questions. I graduated from Cheshire High School in 1986. I grew up in Cheshire. This is my hometown. My parents moved here. I was 5. So ever since I've been 5, I've been in this town. It was a great place to grow up. But there wasn't a lot to do especially for creative kids. And I was a creative kid. I was into art and theater, and that's where I continued my life. And I went on to study drama, costume design at the Yale School of Drama, and fashion design before that. And so I ended up making my career in theater. But Cheshire was a really good place to live, especially when you're raising a child. Great school system, the same great school system that I enjoyed. So I came back here, and then this idea to create Ball and Socket Arts happened because 2 of my fellow classmates, who are also creatives, had the same experience growing up and the same feelings about this particular site here in town. That what is this amazing building? What's it being used for? It had been out of service for about 20 years, and it was looking really bad. And we had been to a lot of arts places around the world and around the country that were converted former factories. So we thought, well, here's a former factory in our hometown that really needs a place for creative activity. So this would be a perfect art center in Cheshire. So what's going on? Can we make something happen? So that's how the sort of project was born. It was really intensely local and really responding to what it was like and what it continues to be like to live and grow up in Cheshire.
Okay, now I'm familiar with the Ball and Socket property. I've been in Cheshire since 1972, and I used to go by and I used to see the state of the decrepitancy, which is not a word, but I thought I'd use it anyway. And when you saw it in a similar situation that I saw it in, how did you figure out that you might be able to get funding for such a wonderful project?
I mean, I don't know.
Who should I ask?
We didn't really think that far, we'll get funding. The thing we decided to do was give it a go. We found a local architect who was really into the idea as well. And he sort of assured us that, there will be ways to get this done. And so I blame him.
Can you share his name with us?
This is David Arai. He is still our project architect. He is from the principal architect at the Meyer Group, which is based in Hartford, Connecticut, but he lives here in town and he's raised his kids here in town. And he has given untold hours to this project, getting us going and up on our feet, because the amount of work in the design phase that's required and the amount of code that's required to reopen a site under a different use than its original intention is massive. There were a lot of things we didn't know we were going to be doing when we decided to give this project a try. But it's been a very steep learning curve, and it's fascinating. And now I feel much more knowledgeable about what it is I'm doing. But we knew that financially, this is not something that one takes on lightly. And because none of us were particularly high income earners being, people who worked in the arts. Arts are a notoriously underpaid profession.
Right.
We formed a nonprofit organization. And the nonprofit organization is Ball and Socket Arts. And we named ourselves after the factory because the building already had a name. It was right on the front of it and everybody knew it as Ball and Socket. So that's how we created our name. And we formed the nonprofit, and then everything that we did is under this nonprofit organization. So the nonprofit owns the factory.
Right. Now there's a couple of pieces to this massive puzzle that is now Ball and Socket.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is the town.
Yes.
When you went to the town, was the reception a cordial reception, or what happened?
Cordial. Yeah, sure. Cordial is a good word. The town wanted this street, West Main Street, to be developed. They saw the possibilities for sort of a walkable, more vibrant commercial district down in this area, and they've seen that for quite a while. And they had been getting steep grants to do such enhancements along the way. So there's nice street lamps here, and there's the nice brick sidewalks. So they were working towards a plan for sort of revitalizing this particular part of town because, it makes for a good life experience to live in a town where you have a vibrant little bustling downtown area. And Cheshire doesn't really have it because we have this big Route 10 that sort of cuts down right through the center of our town. So this road is not as big. West Main Street is smaller, more manageable. So they had been thinking along these lines for a while, but this giant, rumbling old factory, dirty old factory complex right on the street kind of gets in the way of development. If it's allowed to fall apart and rumble and deteriorate and fall prey to vandalism. So I know a lot of our town councilmen, our town manager's office really wanted this site to get redeveloped. But it would take a very particular kind of developer to put so much risk into something that is, so difficult to do. So we kind of bumbled in, honestly, as these total rubes, who didn't know anything and had this rosy idea of what this factory should become. And the use that we were proposing was a use that, everybody kind of agreed would be great. We have this site that's open. We connect the trail at the back of the site to the front of the site. People can utilize this space from the trail as well as driving here. There's also another really forward thinking idea that you kind of ride your bike here instead of having to drive everywhere, or you walk, or you rollerblade, or, you have a place to walk the dog to. And then also having an idea that this is a place that there'll be interesting, businesses here, as well as what we want to offer, which is some really interesting arts exhibits and programming and concerts and classes. So it's both things, so people can use it however they want. They can come here and get food and sit and talk with their friends, or they can come take a class, and maybe while they're taking their class, their parents are doing something else. Right. So it was an idea that everybody, I think, thought that's a really great idea. But at first, I think we were met with sort of great skepticism just because we were unproven and very idealistic. And, it was a lot of those kids were doing the arts thing, a lot of kind of pushing us to the side because nobody thought it was going to work. They thought it was going to be, not nobody. I can't say nobody because there are a lot of people who actually said, this is great. And they gave us money and they wanted to help. So those people are the ones who've kept us going. Despite how improbable this project was, they still believed in it enough to give us funds to keep going. So I will always be indebted to our early donors because they really they're responsible for it. They kept us alive. So the town, it took a little bit of warming up, but things shift. I mean, we've been doing this a long time. A lot of people have retired, they've taken other jobs. So the people who are coming in, the newer people who've been coming in along the way, all are let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. So at this point, I think, it's gone from a cordial and sort of, a cordial but slightly, distant reception to like full force support. Like,
Right.
let's get it done.
Now, when you say the trail, that's the linear park that goes from New Haven through Southington and wherever else it gets to up toward Hartford.
Correct. It used to connect, it was the railroad line that connected New Haven to Northampton, Massachusetts. And all of it's been closed to railways for many years, I think since the 80s. And it's being built out sort of as each community can, to be a paved walking or cycling trail. It's also part of a much larger national trail complex called the East Coast Greenway, which connects Florida to Maine. So there's this, tremendous potential in these incredible trails that people can very safely travel up through the United States without having to be in highway traffic or with cars. They are just on these trails and they can go through the whole country, which is a really amazing concept. So we're preparing ourselves for this concept of trail tourism, because a lot of people do that. They pack their bikes and they pedal long distances, and it's a beautiful thing. What a great way to see the country.
Yeah, there's a great crossing mechanism on West Main Street. I won't try to explain it, but you got to see it to believe what it can do. It's really fantastic. Everybody was worried at the beginning there, how are we going to get people across here safely? Because there's a fair amount of traffic. Yes. And this section is beautiful. However, whoever designed it, he or she must be wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of he or she being wonderful, I do want to get back to a few more parts of the team, but I want Lydia to be able to say something here because she is not an ornament. She is a very, very, very important person in this whole thing. And so she's part of the team. So give us your part of the team.
So I'm working on devising the programming that we're going to offer the public. So we've been doing a concert series this August, Friday nights at the Factory. We might have one tomorrow. We might get rained out. TBD.
Oh yeah, right.
So we're looking at live music programming, exhibitions, and our new gallery that's going to be opening in Building 3. We hope September, October. As soon as the construction is done, we're going to get some art up in there. And then also some writing workshops. We have also commissioned some new sculptures from scrap metal from the Factory. So just figuring out like what public programming we can do and how to fund it and how to really like look towards the future of what this place can be, how we can be welcoming and accessible to everyone, and also pay artists and make sure they're getting community and use out of the site as well.
Right. So you are a key cog. I don't know if anyone's ever called you a key cog. Sounds kind of funny, but you are a key cog.
I'll take it.
All right, now back to the setup of the team. We have the originators, we have the original donors, we have the town, but there's another group called the state of Connecticut that's part of the team. How have they contributed to the team effort?
Well, I mean, the state is really our primary funder. So our very, very first chunk of money that allowed us to even, be here today was from the DECD, from the Brownfield and Redevelopment and Remediation Office of Brownfield Redevelopment and Remediation. They exist to make sure that places such as this, abandoned factories, sites that have a dirty history, don't just kind of fall into decrepitude, but are either remediated in some way, that they're put back into use, or they are safely demolished and the land is repurposed and treated. So they know how difficult it is for like private individuals to do this work, and why if you leave it up to landowners, it's not going to happen. So because it's too expensive and too complicated. And there's very little return on investment on brownfield remediation projects if you do it entirely independently. So the state is there. I think it's a very visionary program with this office to take brownfields and turn them back into usable, viable spaces for our economy. And they had a program way back when in 2012, where it's still actually an ongoing program, but some things were removed from it. We were very lucky because one of the things that was still available in the program when we applied was acquisition. So the cost of acquisition of a property was in it. It no longer is, but back in the day, we said, here we are, nonprofit organization, here's this site in our town that we want to fix up. And we put in a big, we had to do a big binder. We had to have plans in place. We had to have all this stuff pulled together to give to the town to say, like, we're applying for your program, please, fund us. And they did. And it was like,
Wow.
it was a little surprising. The further we got into the project, I thought, why on earth did they give us this money? Like, we had no experience or history. But I think the reason they gave us the money is because we were presenting something, a use for these buildings that wasn't profit driven. It wasn't about a developer making a lot of money and having condos. And, it was like, here we're doing something for a community, right? That we are actually, bringing arts, culture, tourism. It's a historical site. That's a whole other aspect to it, that we are restoring a historic structure. So all these things are part of what DECD oversees. So it was like to them, I can't speak for them. I wasn't in the room when they made the decision, but I can imagine that to them, it was like everything that DEC does is what we want to do with ball and socket. Sure. So, that's how it started. So the other thing that they've done is continuously, through the years, they've added more funding onto this project because at this point they want it to happen. They were our primary investor. We've proven ourselves that we're working really hard. We're still working to this goal. We're trying to make it happen steadily, even though it's very complicated and it's taken many years. We're still working at it. So they're like, let's get it done, people. So they'll give us an extra little bit of money. They gave us a very nice bond to build out building 2, which is the building we're sitting in right now, which is unfinished. So we're not really here. We're just having this little interview in this space. But right downstairs from us is Sweet Claude's Ice Cream, which is a local business that was looking for a new home. And, this was the type of building and the location that Kellyanne Pierce, the owner of Sweet Claude's, thought would be really beneficial to her business. So we wanted to build out this building anyway. So then we had a really, really good first tenant interested, and we had to just ramp up our project to get money to get it done. So that's how we worked with our state legislators to get us a bond. And that bond is what allowed us to build out building 2. That led to more funding. So we are continuing to be able to roll this construction project through the site.
Right. Now that's another part of the team. That would be your tenants. But before we get to the tenants, I want to get to the board, because the board of directors of any effort, especially this type of effort, is very important with their connections and their help. So tell us about the board of directors.
The board of directors, currently we're at 14 members, of which I am one. And then we are led by Ron Bergamo, who's been
tireless champion.
Oh my God, that guy! He works.
He basically works full time.
He works
for the project.
He works full time
plus his job.
Volunteer. It's all volunteer. Yeah. So it's a complete volunteer board. They are all people who live in Cheshire, and they are all deeply committed to seeing this project through. So we have varying skill sets within it. We have quite a few lawyers, but it's been something that someone comes forward, they show interest in the project, they continue to show interest in the project to the degree where it feels like them being on the board would be a very beneficial, a beneficial arrangement for us, because we need skills in this organization, because we still are we're a skeleton staff, right? So there's Lydia, there's Bill, who's not here today, but he is our facilities manager, and there's myself. So there's really only 3 staff, and then Ron, who is, basically staff, but it's, you know, to do everything that has to be done here, you just need a lot of people working behind the scenes to get
Yes.
everything compliant, everything in order, from the financials to all the legalities. It's, you know, it's monstrously enormous.
Yes,
So
I understand the
we're
wives.
there to support, and they're all, you know, they're all just lovely, giving people who have decided to like give of themselves to help make this happen.
Right. I understand the wives of some of the people you mentioned are also kind of on the team, maybe not on the board. Do you want to mention two of those or one of those?
Wives?
Uh,
Well, yeah, sometimes we have the wife and not the husband.
it's true.
Ah,
It's not just all guys. I think we're more women than men at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, do you want me to, are you asking for particular names? I don't know.
well, I know I've met Sharon, right?
Yes,
Sharon.
Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
Sharon
then
is
I met
Ron's
the wife. Pardon me?
Yes,
Ron's
Sharon
wife.
is Ron's wife. Yeah.
Yes. And I met the wife of Mr. Arai, but I don't
That-
remember her name.
Sharon is actually on our board. She's our organization treasurer.
Okay.
So
I wanted to make sure that we let the world know that this is not a male-oriented thing or a female, but there was an even distribution.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
our
yes, we
board
do
is
have two
actually
females
majority
today. Yes, that's
female.
good.
or it is currently majority female. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of lady power behind this. And actually, I think it's, you know, I mean, you know, I'm a lady, and I think
Okay.
the reason why we exist is because, you know, I had the patience to stick it out, and a lot of guys, you know, might not have, because it just takes a long time, and you just
Sure.
have to kind of like, you know, have faith and trust and not expect things to happen overnight. So
It's kind of like being a mother again. Or
Yeah.
maybe not.
sorry, I missed the question.
All right. I wanted to get to the last member that I think of the team, which we've mentioned a little bit. That would be the tenants.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about Sweet Claude's, but
Yeah.
recently there was an amazing reveal
Yes.
of another tenant, and that's an important tenant because of what will be done for the town at your facility through this particular tenant.
Right.
Could you tell us about that tenant?
Yes, that's Arts Place. Arts Place is a municipally run art school. It currently is about 1.25 miles up the street towards Waterbury. Arts Place has been in existence since 1987. It was founded by a incredible visionary lady, Joanne Pilarczyk, who still
Who
runs
is that?
and Joanne and I now go back to when we were starting to work on this project. That she had been doing Arts Place when the three of us founders were working on this in the beginning. We knew about Arts Place, you know, and you know, whether or not like our project would be sort of competition or, you know, all this silly thought. And I'm like, well, let's just meet her, you know. So we invited her to our first sort of house party, and I was kind of waiting for, you know, Joanne to say something. And, you know, I think we talked about what we wanted to do. We talked about how we, you know, what the intended use was, how we want to get there, and really just to create a circle of support around it within our community, all our community stakeholders, just let them know. And she, you know, everybody was kind of like waiting to see what Joanne would say. And she just said, I think it's wonderful. And she, you know, to her, and I 100% agree, like more is more. It's like you can never have too much culture, right? It's not like you only need one art gallery. You can have 5. It's not, you know, it's all to our benefit as a society to have more culture in our midst. So she's always been an incredible champion. She's been a donor. We've been working together for years and supporting each other and talking regularly. And the idea for Arts Place to be here, it seems like a really natural fit. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if I want Arts Place to be here, I would have said, I think that would be the best thing that could possibly happen. So it was only about after we started working on this building for Sweet Claude's that this idea sort of resurfaced in Town Hall. And Arts Place, it's municipally run, so it's actually part of the town of Cheshire. And the town manager, Sean Kimball, and Arnett Talbot, the assistant town manager, and Andrew Martelli, who runs the Office of Economic Development here in town, all kind of simultaneously were like, why don't let's see if we can. And that's how it happened. It's just like this, we got together, the stars aligned, and let's see if we can make this happen. So it took a long negotiation process behind the scenes in the town hall, but Joanne was for it. I was for it. Our board was for it. I think the people of Cheshire are for it. And it just feels like, let's give them this place to be. It's great. It's great for everybody. It's great for the businesses that are here and will be here to have this stream of traffic. There are people who will come in the morning, they'll come in the afternoon, they'll come in the evening to take their classes. Parents can drop their kids off, and then they don't have to sit in their car. They can actually do something else while their kid's in arts class. And, honestly, just to bring that sort of vibrancy and that curiosity and those creative juices onto the campus here, I think it's just such a win-win-win.
Yes, in full disclosure, I taught at Arts Place. I taught cartooning for a number of years. I know Joanne very well. And they do amazing things for the town. They even have a program called Art Heals, where if someone's homebound, they will actually go to them. One of their instructors will teach at the home. And that's just one of the programs that they use that help people in the town to get more artful.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now, Lydia, I don't want to keep you out. I want to get you back in. Is there anything you want to add to the conversation?
I think just programming wise that we're really excited about Arts Place. And I think there's a lot of natural partnership and overlap that can happen where if we're showing an artist in our gallery and they want to teach a workshop at Arts Place, that's great. And I think we'll work to make sure everything's always complementary. But I think it's just really wonderful and we're excited.
Okay, now I want to have you, that young lady over there, Ilona, tell us if there's anything that I left out that you feel is very important to complete this.
Because we're out of time, right?
I think we are. My producer was trying to get my attention over here to look at something, but I felt ill at ease to kind of take my beautiful face off the screen and go over it like that. Oh. So I think we're getting close to the end of time. He'll tell me if we're not. So we'll throw you in there and you'll fill it in and we'll tell the wonderful things that we didn't get to yet.
I don't know what else I really want to add beyond the fact that I'm very excited to welcome people onto this site. Soon there will be whole new acreage to explore back there because our parking lot is nearing completion. And parking lots usually aren't something that people get really excited about. But it's really exciting that if you've driven past on Willow Street, you can see the parking lot is paved. It's getting striped today. The parking lot lights are being put in, I think, at the end of this week. For some place that had been broken, crappy asphalt, falling down buildings, scrappy, scrubby, just nasty looking mess back there for so long, to see it clean, you get to actually see these buildings for the beautiful things that they are. The building one still needs a lot of work. That is going to be our chief, the center point of this site is when we can get that big factory building done. There's about 45,000 square feet in there. So that is a huge capital campaign project in and of itself. We are not fully funded. We are still working towards getting the roughly $23 million that it'll take to build out this entire site. We've done very well. I think we've raised about $9 million towards this project so far. And so I feel like we did great with that money. We've stretched it really far because we had to put a lot of infrastructure in place that will help us build out the rest of the site. So, we're thinking 5-10 years down the line when we put miles and miles of conduit under that parking lot in order to run power to all the places that we will eventually need power. So we're really thinking long-term, we're going to finish this. And it's going to be a real incredible showcase once that building one gets open. There's spectacular spaces for people to congregate in. So, I'm just excited to see people move further and further into this site. The first day we had people on this site when Sweet Claude's opened, it was just kind of like, like, I think I'm going to throw up. Like, is this possible? It had been an abandoned site. People were not supposed to be here for so long. And now people are coming with their kids and their dogs and their grandparents. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. So that's really what I'm excited about.
I'm told that the clock has run out. So I've enjoyed having you as guests. I hope you've enjoyed being guests. And I hope when some people in the community get to see this, they'll know exactly what everything about ball and socket is and where it's going.
And if they don't, they can always write us. But I'm sorry I talked so much, Ron.
Well, you want to have guests who actually say stuff. You don't want me to be talking because who cares what I say?
Yeah.
All right. So thanks very much for being with us and happy day.
for having us.
Thanks for having us, Ron.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.